Well, good morning. Thank you for listening to WXOX 97.1 FM in Louisville, Kentucky, or artxfm.com online or on the free app on your phone, which is so easy to use. This is Artist Talk with LVA. I'm your host, Keith Waits, and the show is produced by Louisville Visual Art. And with me today, a very special guest. We've been trying to do this for a couple of years. Sharon Scott established ArtXFM in 2011 with the purpose of providing artists and community members access to the airways for creative and experimental use. Streaming live around the world 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the ArtXFM schedule includes music, talk, and experimental programming. She is also an author, artist, and cultural historian. Her premier book, Toys in American Culture, an Encyclopedia, received outstanding reviews from Booklist, the American Journal of Play, and Lawrence Looks at Books. Sharon has spoken on the importance of free-form broadcasting at national events such as the Grassroots Radio Conference, which was held here. We can talk about that. College Broadcasters, Inc., and the CMJ Music Marathon. Her radio advocacy on behalf of artists and community members has gained the attention of publications such as the Chronicle of Higher Education, Southern Living, the College Music Journal, and last but not least, boom, the New York Times.
Wow.
This seems like the gold standard to me, right? The Times.
Yeah, hey, I'll take it.
So Sharon, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Keith. Great to be here.
So we're going to start with talking about Give for Good, Louisville, and what that's all about, because part of the reason I asked you to do this interview to be aired today is because it's Give for Good Day. So this has been going on for a few years, and all sorts of organizations in town. And I don't know a nonprofit that doesn't use it, but it's really crucial to the station because it is the one day that we reach out to the public. Talk to us a little bit about how important Give for Good is, and how you've worked so hard to maximize this day for the station.
Well, it's a fantastic day of giving. So anyone who doesn't know about it really ought to. Everyone has a cause that they believe in, and almost all of those causes will be represented on this day. It's a citywide day of giving sponsored by the Community Foundation of Louisville, and they offer an incredible amount of incentive prizes, awards, matching grants, all kinds of things to make every single donation go a little bit further. So that's why we really focus on this one day, because I mean, it's fantastic. Who wouldn't want their $10 donation to turn into $1,010, which are, some of the prizes that they offer. So, so we just really, one, we think it's fun because it's more fun to kind of ask people to participate in these games and try to win prizes than it is to, just kind of go and ask somebody for money. But we completely depend on listener support. We haven't got, a lot of people think we're funded by the city, which is funny. I run into that a lot, but we don't get any. I wish. We did get a grant for our teen academy from the city that we ran this summer, but for our overall programming, we don't get any support from any other organizations or institutions. We're completely self-run, which is, kind of beautiful in some ways, that, we can stay completely independent and we don't have to base our programming on anyone's pocketbook. But it means we really need our listeners to stand up and support us. And this is the day we do it. Instead of dragging it out over a couple of weeks or longer that some of the stations do, we just like to, get it done in that one day and get it over with. And then we can continue on with our programming throughout the year.
Right. And I think one of the things that points to the strength of our audience, or also the breadth and diversity of our audience, is that so many of the donations are small amounts, which I think is important for people to know. A lot of people don't like being part of these kinds of drives because they feel like it's always you're asking me for like $100 or whatever. But like, so many of our donations are $10, $15, $20. Yeah. And with those kinds of, we have enough of those that we do as well as we do, that we hit our goal and surpass it. And I know it hasn't, I don't know if there is this year. You studied the Give for Good playbook much more closely than I have. But I remember there were times when there are certain periods of time, right, where you get bonuses for the number of individual donations.
Right. That kind of all day long you do. So like you mentioned, every single donation counts towards some of these bigger prizes. So for instance, there's the grand prize. Obviously, everybody wants the grand prize, and each category has a grand prize of $3,000. And that prize is based on the amount of individual donors. It has nothing to do with the amount of money that you've raised, but it's how many people have shown up. And last year we won that in our category. It was super exciting, very competitive, down to the wire kind of thing. But we ended up winning the grand prize in our category, and that was amazing. So that's really an example of how like a $10 gift can turn into a whole lot more, because now you've helped us get this jackpot of $3,000. And then there's certain times throughout the day as well. We always go for the 2 to 4 a.m. at the beginning, early morning of September 15th. And if we get the most donors in that 2 to 4 a.m. window, then we get $1,000 bonus prize, which is also one that we managed to grab last year. In fact, I think we're 3 years running on that one. We have a good late night crowd that stays up with us, and it's kind of fun because we have this like middle of the night party. Everybody's up, either staying up or setting their alarm clocks and getting up sometime between 2 and 4 a.m. and making their donation to Art FM, even if it's just $10. And yeah, we've just really had fun with that one. And people just all share their experiences of like what was going on when they woke up at 3 a.m. or what they heard on the radio. And we'll have JKT Jackson on the radio. So if you do wake up and want to make your donation between 2 and 4 a.m., or if you did last night, actually.
That's right. When this airs, we will have clinched that.
I hope so. Hey, I'm not going to jinx. I'm very superstitious, so I don't want to say that, Keith.
Okay.
But yeah, I just gave it away that this is a pre-recorded interview, which is
just my prediction.
So hopefully by the time you're hearing this, we would have grabbed that. But there's more times throughout the day coming up that there'll be 2-hour windows when, if you give at that time, you can help us win an additional $1,000 prize. So that's pretty cool. And then throughout the day, there's these golden tickets. Every hour they draw just a random donation. Again, could be $10 donation. They pull it out and they give you a golden ticket. And that means that your donation now became over $1,000 for your chosen organization. So we've gotten those before, and that's always exciting too.
Well, and again, if I understand how it works, you're more likely to get a golden ticket because you have a greater number of individual donations coming in.
That's true. Right. Exactly.
So
yes,
the Fat Cats are great, but it's our grassroots giving that really makes a big difference on this day. Yeah.
And we, I mean, obviously everybody's in a different situation financially, and the pandemic has, challenged us all. So we get it. If you don't have really deep pockets, give what you can. If you do have deep pockets, help the rest of us out. This is Art FM is a service that we provide free of charge, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And it really takes a lot to keep us on air and keep us going. And so, you can help out, and you can help your community by throwing down those bigger gifts. We're certainly not going to deny those. And we're super thankful. As I mentioned, we're a listener supported station. So every little gift just really helps us out so much.
Okay. Well, let's pivot slightly here and talk about the history and how the station came to be. Because this is the 10th anniversary, 2022, and it was the fall, wasn't it? Was it the September when you first broadcast?
Well, okay, yeah. So going back in time, 10 years ago this month, almost to the day, we launched Art FM at Idea Festival at the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts. And it was just a crazy experience of pulling a radio station together in about 6 weeks' time, finding the DJs, getting the equipment, and building a little radio station inside the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts. And it was such a cool experience because it was with Idea Festival, and they bring all these great speakers. They did at the time anyway, bring a lot of great speakers to Louisville in all different fields, very similar to the TED Talks or something. Mm-hmm. Just these people that are just total experts in their fields, amazingly accomplished, individuals. I mean, there was like a quadriplegic that had gotten to the summit of Mount Everest. So it's like these incredible stories, and then musicians and physicians. And what we did was we partnered people in our community with the people who came to town to talk that had a similar interest. For instance, if there was a poet, we found a local poet and had them interview the person. And that was really cool because we were making these connections with kind of, the people in our community with the people who just totally excelled in their field, and creating these dialogues between them. And it was just really fascinating. And then in between the interviews, we played music and we had DJs, and some of the DJs actually are still with us, which is just totally crazy. Some we met there, and that's kind of how it all got started. But we were what I call couch surfing at the time. That was our first event. And then after that, after Idea Festival was over, I think it was 4 days, we shut down, our stream went silent, and then we waited for the next event, which happened to be St. James Court Art Show. We set up, Margie Esrock was running the show at the time, and she's now a board member. She became a board member of Art FM after we had our second broadcast in her office. We managed to break the windows and everything else, and she still wanted to participate and be in our board. So we love Margie. She's still a board member. And so that was really fun at St. James Court, and we were interviewing the artists there and the people that had come there, and we got musicians to come perform in the offices. And then we closed up again, and we got involved. Joey Yates was running a really cool music series at KMAC, the Caligari piano series, part of the Caligari exhibit they were doing. And they brought in some amazing musicians to play on this piano, and we were able to record and live broadcast those. So we were kind of just hopping around between events, and then we finally were donated our space downtown in the Nulu area. We were on Market Street, and we had a really cool space there. Grindberger is now there. But it was kind of in the back part of where Grindberger is. Right. But at the time, I know you remember, Keith, we had very little insulation between us and the residents upstairs. And actually the woman who lived upstairs was so cool, and she loved our radio station, and she would laugh about how she could hear it both through the radio and through her floor. But the landlords didn't like it very much. So we didn't get to stay there forever, but it was a good place to start off.
Well, but now there's a permanent home.
Right.
On Breckenridge.
Yeah. And, before I leave that, I want to say thank you to Jeff and Anna Topman, who gave us our first home. It was a great place to start out. It was cool to be in Nulu. The Speed was over there at the time, and we, did a number of events with them. But then when we finally had to move out of that spot, it was funny. It was kind of the very day they were like, okay, we need you guys to move on. On that very day, we found our new building, which is down on West Breckenridge Street between 5th and 6th. We've got a beautiful mural that the LVA mural project helped us complete. Aaron Reed was amazing with that.
She always is.
Yeah, and that was so cool. So LVA helped us put out the call for artists, helped us kind of go through all the great submissions, finally, decide on the artist, who's Wilfred Sieg of the Art Cartel. So people passing by, it's such a beautiful mural. And so that's where we are now. And that's where, we're going to be having a party later today.
Right. And we think, and I don't know, because we're talking ahead of time, but there's a plan for perhaps Wilfred to come over, and he actually has never put his signature on the mural. So
right. Because what happened,
it's going to be finished today.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really cool. He finished the mural. I mean, he got it done in such an incredible amount of time, and especially for, it's just so beautiful. It doesn't look rushed at all, but he works really fast. I was totally amazed. But then once he finished, we were planning on doing, a big celebration, and then this damn pandemic, hit. And so nobody wanted to be together or anything. So we had to put it off. So we had to put off the mural signing, and it's finally going to happen today between 4 and 6 p.m. sometime during the 100 Proof Happy Hour. So part of our Good for Good celebrations.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. I haven't seen Wilfred in a while, so it'd be great to see him again.
Yeah, neither have I. Well, not since the time he came on the station as he sort of wrapped up the main image on the mural.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't think I've seen it.
So shout out to Wilfred, the Art Cartel. Check him out. There's a new mural of his on Bardstown Road, the butterflies. Have you seen that? The Monarch is the name of the place.
Oh, I have not.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Kind of near the Bristol.
Yeah.
Oh, where Beer Nose used to be on Bardstown Road.
Okay. All right. I'll go check it out. So when you look at the station today and you think back to those early days, were you always confident we'd get where we are? And I know there's more growth potential, but it seems very, knock on wood, it seems stable and self-sustaining. And, we always have to go after money. That's what nonprofits have to do. But like, did you ever, were you completely confident in the vision that you would get to this place?
Oh, I never doubted it, but I don't know if I ever, really conceptualized where we would be and where it would go, because it was always so busy. Like I said, we had to pull it together so fast. And then once we started going, it was like, it was on, it's like you're running the race. So once you're running the race, maybe you don't have time to like think about, am I actually going to win this race? But you're just running, you're just going for it. So I think that's kind of how it's been for us. It's been going 24 hours a day, 365 days a year for almost 10 years now. So there just really hasn't been time to stop and think about it too much. But it's been working. We've managed to make it work. It's kind of just taking one day at a time and one problem at a time and making it work. And it's just been like the total incredible support of the community. I don't think I imagined how much the community would really show up for this. I thought we might be some like kind of renegade radio station doing our thing over here and maybe a little bit underground, and certain people have heard about us. But I mean, I feel like, especially on a day like today, where you're just really seeing how many people care about this station, that's what I think has really surprised me more than anything, is like how supportive the community has been and how many people have gotten involved and how they've taken it to a new level that we never imagined, and taken it in so many different places.
Well, and we're talking about it being the 10th anniversary, but it's probably really a longer time period than 10 years. Like, when did you first decide, I'm going to make this happen? I mean, how much time was there between that and going on the air the first time?
Not much at all. Like seriously, like 6 weeks, I think. So just
dreaming about it beforehand?
Not really. No, it was like this weird thing, because it's like, what I've worked in radio. I worked in radio since college, and that's where I got my start at WRVU in Nashville. And I loved radio. I mean, I loved it so much. It was just like so exciting to be on air and talk to all these people and play this music. I had a very late night time slot. I don't know, I just enjoyed it. And really at that time started thinking about radio as its own creative medium. And I did a lot of like pretty far out stuff on my radio show. And then that time just really realized how little opportunity artists had to get on the radio and just experiment, just throw paint at the canvas and see what happens. There's just really been no room for that for artists. The Dada artists did it a little bit. Wave Farm up in New York is doing some cool stuff right now, but it's just really, just a really blank area in art to me. It's a medium that artists just haven't had access to. They haven't really been able to push this and see what it can do. So I've always thought, that artists really needed to have access to the radio, but it's always been like, well, that's never going to happen because it's controlled by corporate radio, it's controlled by public radio, it's controlled by religious radio, and there's just no room for artists or creativity on the radio anymore. But when the LPFM thing, when I heard about that there was going to be spots on the FM dial for nonprofit organizations to have their own frequency, their own spot on the dial, that was like just shocking to me. Like, I just couldn't believe that was actually happening and actually an opportunity. So we motivated right away and formed a nonprofit to try to make that happen, to try to be able to apply for an FM frequency when they opened up. And along the way, we were talking to people in the community. Would you be interested? I'm sure we talked to LVA. We were talking to the Speed. We were talking to different arts groups. If we started an arts focused radio station, would you be interested in listening, helping us program it, bringing guests? And the response was overwhelmingly positive, and people really were excited about that. So we got moving, we formed the organization. And then along the way, we talked to Chris Kimmel of Idea Festival. And that's when I met him for coffee one day. And he's like, oh, this sounds fantastic. let's make it happen at Idea Festival. Can't you just start the online station now instead of waiting for the FM frequency? And I said, yeah, we could. Yeah, let's do that. And he's like, great. And he like shook my hand and was like, okay, see you at Idea Festival. And we were like signed up to bring our radio station to Idea Festival. And I literally did not know when it was. And I was like, okay, get to my computer, look up when is Idea Festival. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's in 6 weeks. And literally all we had was an idea. So, so we just fast tracked it and reached out to a lot of radio acquaintances we know, and like, what equipment do we need? How do we start getting these people trained? We started having trainings at our house, in here in the Highlands, having DJ trainings at home. We had the whole setup in our dining room. And that's how we got started, and we got it done in 6 weeks and launched at Idea Festival. So yeah, it's just been a whirlwind.
I want to clarify, when you say we, I mean, there may have been other people there, but let's at least talk about Sean Shelby.
Sean Selby.
Who has been, like, I think, because really you guys are like a team. You're
for sure.
You're the general manager of the station. You're kind of in charge, but Sean has been, well, let's just get right to it. He climbed the tower, right? I mean, he's done the very hard work of the station.
Yeah, he has to go back up there soon and replace our emergency broadcasting equipment. We got to upgrade on that. So, he in our transmitter is in a very precarious location. It's like a ladder. It's maybe a staircase, maybe a ladder. I'm not sure, but it's very steep. And it's very dirty, and it's very, very old. Like, we think like Civil War kind of old. So that's where our transmitter is sitting. And anytime it needs maintenance, Sean's the one who gets to climb up there and deal with that. But he's kind of the strong, silent type. He doesn't like to, he doesn't like to get on he does a radio show, but he doesn't like to talk too much on his show. And he doesn't like to kind of take the spotlight for all he's done with the radio station. But he really, he has physically put the whole thing together. When we get new equipment, he plugs it into the soundboard. He's the guy with the ear who can tell when there's a hum or a buzz somewhere. And so, Sean is incredible. He's the chief engineer, the chief operator. Chief operator is his technical term. We can't use engineer because he didn't actually go to school for that, but he's really learned by doing. But he's incredible. Yes. And then just more of the team. Of course, our son Max has been, he's the unofficial mascot of the station. He's been around the whole time, sleeping under the soundboard and that kind of stuff. And then our amazing board of directors. Many of them have been with us for 10 years now, and which is an incredible, just incredible show of their dedication to this. So they're still on board and they still have fun with it, and they still like being involved with community radio. So shout out to our amazing board members, the incredible DJs such as yourself that have given, years of their time. And it's a lot to get a radio show together, every single week. It's not just the 1 hour, as you know, Keith, of being on air, but it's all the prep time. So it's just the most amazing team really is what makes this whole thing happen, for sure.
Well, and I want to talk too about the challenge that the pandemic presented to all radio, but I think particularly stations like WXOX that are, there's not like a bunch of technical staff running around. There's not a lot of support. It's all people like you and Sean. It's almost all volunteer time, and what had to happen when the pandemic happened, and you didn't think, rightly so, that it was safe for over 100 people to come in and use the same soundboard and the same stuff and everything, and how we pivoted and managed to stay on the air. Talk a little bit about that experience.
Well, that was really incredible, just as a radio station manager, to all of a sudden realize, like, the life of your staff is in your hands, whatever decision you make. And that's how I felt at the time. I was like, seriously, it just is not, that's not really, when you sign up for this job, that's not what you're thinking about.
Right.
But we saw, of course, we saw the pandemic coming into the United States from the West Coast, and it was kind of like slowly creeping over in this direction. And we knew it was just a matter of time before it's going to be here. And so we right away started saying, okay, we need to find a way for people to be able to broadcast from home so that we're not all like you said, crowding into the studio, using the same microphones, same headphones, all that kind of stuff. So, first of all, of course, we implemented some serious on-site, safety protocols. Everyone's bringing their own headphones and their own mic covers and all that. But we really needed to go one step further, and that was providing for DJs to be able to stay home safely and broadcast. And so that was a real challenge. We experimented with a few different things, and they would work sort of, but the audio sounded really weird or something like that. And so we went through a few different processes, but we eventually worked out a way, basically, that the DJs can be at home using their own computer or even at their own record players at home or whatever they have. We can make it work, and that they would basically generate their own stream from home, live stream, and that our station computer could pick it up in the station itself and broadcast it over the airwaves. So they were still live broadcasting, but they just weren't in studio to do it. And so that was really, an amazing feat, because then it was cool, because then the DJs not only could be safe at home, but they could be like on vacation in Hawaii or whatever and live broadcasting from there. So it really opened up a whole new world.
Right, because we have a few. Julie Gross is broadcasting for us now from, is it Colorado? Is she in Colorado?
She's in Washington. Yeah,
Washington.
Seattle. Yeah.
And we have one person, don't we have somebody outside of the United States?
Yeah, we have Johnny Siegel every Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. is broadcasting. It's the middle of the night there in Adelaide, Australia. Actually, I think it's like 4 a.m. or something weird like that. But he gets up and does his radio show from Australia, live for us here in the United States. Emily Miles moved to Philadelphia, and so she's broadcasting live from Philly. Mark Capel is out in the San Francisco area, and he broadcasts from out there. So yeah, we're kind of like, these are all DJs that were physically at our studio and have moved.
They started here.
Places. Yeah. But now we're starting to open up to DJs in other places that can kind of, send their voice in from wherever they might be. So we're looking to bring in some more people from all over the world, which would be cool.
Right. Now, well, and I know Julie Gross and Emily Miles have both been more than DJs to the station. Yeah. And Emily is still like doing a lot of work on the Give for Good.
Yes, let's shout out to Emily Miles. Her radio show is Be Here every Tuesday at noon. It's a fantastic radio show, just like really kind of calm you down and center yourself for the week ahead. But if you see these amazing graphics going around today with our DJs' faces on them and stuff like that, Emily did all the graphics this year for Give for Good. So she's done a great job. And yeah, and she just steps up because she loves it. And it's an incredible amount of work that she does. So shout out to Emily. Thank you.
Sure. Well, and before we just have a few minutes, but I want to get back to the sort of remote broadcasting idea, because what you found, you've talked to us at meetings and stuff about what you found, is that there were a lot of other stations like us around the country, because there are many stations, independent stations, low frequency or whatever, that they were really impressed and wanting to know what we did to stay on the air that way. And what you guys did was sort of maybe not unique, but rare. Mm-hmm. It was not the common reaction around the country.
Yeah, what I was really surprised about is that people were it seemed like different station managers were just okay with rebroadcasting old programming, mm-hmm. or replaying stuff from the past. And that's what a lot of stations did. And we tried that once or twice. And then it was like some show where they had like 12 musicians packed into the studio and someone was coughing horrifically or whatever. And it's just like, oh my God, it's just like, no, we can't be broadcasting this, because it was really important to me that we be a good example for our community in terms of social distancing, being right. safe, all that kind of stuff. So I immediately was like, no, we cannot do that. And then a lot of other stations also just started having their DJs pre-record shows and then send them in, and then they would upload them and play them. One, to me, that's a lot more work, because someone's got to download the thing into the computer and set it to play at this time and all this kind of stuff. So I personally didn't want to take on that burden, but more to me, then you lose that live connection between the DJ and the audience, and that that ability to really reach out and communicate with them, which I felt like was so important during the pandemic, when we were, still a pandemic, I guess, I don't even know, but especially in that time when we were all staying at home and being very secluded, I felt like it was so important for us to be live, to be there, to be connecting with people that might not be able to connect with anyone else at all, throughout their day. So, so I really wanted us to be there for the people, and it worked out. Again, it was a lot of trial and error because I was reaching out, I was like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, we're replaying the programming. And, so I couldn't find anyone who was really working to keep their DJs live.
Well, and see, with a show like this, that's really not so viable. I mean,
Right,
because this show's based on, and I'm sure a lot of other DJs on WXOX maybe feel the same way about that, but this show's based on talking to somebody about something that's happening right now.
right.
And of course, I had that challenge of like, well, galleries aren't open, theaters aren't open, museums. So I started talking to all the teachers while they were doing, online.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and it was like there was always a way to highlight that. And so, I mean, there was just like you have to think differently. And so I was so glad that you did it personally. And I've been broadcasting that way for over 2 years.
Yeah,
Because I know some of our DJs are back in the studio.
they are.
But you're still concerned about people that are bringing in guests that aren't routinely in the building.
Yeah.
So I think it's worked out, and I don't want to say I love Zoom, but it also has, what the circumstances showed me is that there are people who could never come on the show because they could never come in there live. So this gives me a tool to not do this all the time, I want to be back in the studio live. But if there's somebody I really feel like it's important to talk to, it's easy now for me to do that, to bring in a piece of an interview and maybe split the show or something like that. So
so you have that skill now, even if
so I know exactly how to do it. And if there's another pandemic comes along, man, we'll all know exactly what to do now.
Oh, God, no. It won't happen. No, we're done with pandemics. No, but I mean, I was saying, off before we got on air here, just like how interesting your show has been every week to me, to like hear what the artists are doing, how they're dealing with the pandemic, how they're coping with it and everything else. It's great. And, and also like during the pandemic, when I wasn't having a lot of conversations with people, it was nice at least to be able to eavesdrop on people having a good art conversation. So I've really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Well, I enjoy doing the show. Of course, I'm doing it as a part of my job at Louisville Visual Art, but if I were not working at Louisville Visual Art, I would probably want to come and do a show like this.
Yay.
just for the fun.
We love it. We love it.
Because it's a lot of
partner, with LVA.
It's a lot of fun to talk to people, and I think one of the key things is a lot of times I don't know the people. Sometimes I know them very well, and obviously we know each other now for 10 years, but or more. But that sense of discovery of some of the new people that I haven't talked to or haven't interviewed for me before is just what makes it fun for me.
Yeah, for us too. We're discovering it through you, discovering my work through you.
Well, I'm afraid it's about time to wrap it up. I normally will talk longer, but I'm making sure that I have plenty of time left to get on the air and talk about Give for Good, read the names of donors and stuff like that. So as soon as
donors,
you're going to hear me read names of donors.
Okay.
So thank you so much for being here, Sharon Scott.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Keith, for being here. Thank you for your show. It's just wonderful every week. I'm so glad you've made it through the pandemic, keeping the show on air. How many years now has this show been on air?
I believe it was 9 that we started in October, and it would be 9 years ago.
Yeah,
and another shout out, Jackie Pallison, who was with LVA at the time, is who started the show. And there was a rotation of hosts, and there was more music and less talk. But she invited me to get involved. And I said, I want more talk though. I want to really I want to give these guys the opportunity to have their voice heard. And so, so I'm always grateful to Jackie for that, who's living back in,
she's in Copenhagen or something.
Yeah, she's in Copenhagen with Yon and Oscar.
Yeah, well, shout out to them.
Listening, hey, Jackie.
Yeah, maybe. Well, thank you, Keith. And I just want to thank you guys once again for the help LVA provided with our mural from Wilfred Sieg. And just want to remind our listeners, come down to the station tonight this afternoon, between 4 and 6 p.m. At some point, Wilfred's going to be signing our mural Thanks to Dage's Paint, who donated the paint for that, and the Sunbelt Rentals, who donated our lift for that. But the LVA mural program is a fantastic asset to our community. So thanks, Keith, for that.
And just so people know, like our building, you can see that mural. It's really one of the great views of a mural because there's just a big empty field, and that's where we're going to be. That's where the party is going to be happening. So you don't get to come in and like get on the air with us, but
yeah, not this year. When normally we do that, but we're still being real protective of our DJs and stuff. They're going to have live musicians on air, and those musicians will be coming out to the field and playing for us and stuff like that. So yeah, it should be a great time. And thanks to Joel and Johanna for hosting that for us. So but thank you to all our donors. Before you get on, start reading names, Keith, I just want to thank everyone from the bottom of our heart. We know every single name that's given to us, all the funny names that people make up and the real names, the people we know from years ago or whatever. We thank you so much. It's just, it means the world to us. So we just really cannot thank you enough, and are so grateful for all the generosity you guys show us. So keep it up and keep supporting your favorite nonprofits.
That's right. That's right. And I'll be talking about it here in just a minute too.
Okay, so sounds great. All right, well, let's do this again. I could talk forever. It's a lot of fun.
Well, we will. Maybe we'll do it. Maybe it'll be a tradition. Maybe it'll be a gift for good tradition. We'll see.
Okay, I like that. All right. Well, take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.